Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is April 3rd, 2025, and La Liga have reduced Barcelona's salary limit due to a discrepancy with the VIP deal. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and I'm bringing you this short live because I'm still out of the country. I'm not home. I'm not in my YouTube studio, so I cannot film, edit, and upload videos. So instead, I'm doing short lives to keep you up to date on all Barcelona news. This is not a podcast, so unfortunately, I will not be addressing the comment section. But nonetheless, let's dive right into the news because today, ladies and gentlemen, or I should say yesterday, La Liga announced that they are reducing Barcelona's salary limit due to a discrepancy with the VIP C deal. And this, of course, affects Barcelona 1-1. As you know, when Barcelona achieved that VIP deal, they achieved the 1-1 rule. But now that that VIP deal is not going to count, no more 1-1 rule for Barcelona. Now, you might be wondering, what the hell are you talking about, Mo? Well, let me break it down to you. As you know, both Dani Olmo and Pau Victor were registered in the place of the injured Andreas Christensen. Their registrations were set to expire on December 31st, so a few days before the deadline. Jean Laporta flew to the Middle East. He sold the rights to the VIP seats at the new Spotify Camp Nou to two Middle Eastern investors in exchange for 100 million euros. And then Laporta took that deal to La Liga to get it approved in order to achieve the 1-1 rule. Now, initially, that deal had been approved temporarily by an auditor, a third-party auditor, and since that auditor temporarily approved this deal, La Liga counted it as income for Barcelona, and as such, Barcelona achieved the 1-1 rule, and their salary limit was increased. Then La Liga went to the CSD, and they asked the CSD for a report about this VIP deal. The CSD said no. The CSD, of course, is the court that has heard the case of Daniel Mumpao Victor. So then Barcelona hired a new auditor called Crow Spain. Now, Crow Spain went through all of Barcelona's finances. They went through the VIP C deal, and they have decided that the 100 million euros should not count as income for Barcelona. Why? Because those 100 million euros are coming from seats that still don't exist. Because remember, the Spotify Camp Nou was supposed to open this past November. It hasn't opened yet. It's not going to open probably until October of this year. Some reports are even saying January of next year. So since these seats don't exist yet, Crow Spain, the third-party auditor, has decided that the 100 million euros should not count as income for Barcelona. And as such, La Liga have announced that since those 100 million euros do not count, that Barcelona's salary limit will be reduced and Barcelona will no longer be under the 1-1 rule. Now, this announcement came on the same day as the semifinal. And I say on the same day as the semifinal because honestly, I don't know what day it is. I'm in Japan. The time difference is big. I don't know if it's April 3rd, April 2nd, where you are. Anyways, but of course, this announcement did not sit well with Jean Laporta, who replied to La Liga's announcement by saying the following. Now, where did it go? There we go. Jean Laporta said, regarding the league statement, I would like to say that we see it as a further attempt to harm the interests of FC Barcelona and damage the club's image. Sometimes I feel this is no coincidence. Today we're playing a final here in Madrid against Atletico Madrid, which I hope will be a great show of football. But arguments like this arise and controversies like this are revived. I think this is no coincidence, but rather an attempt to destabilize our team. So Jean Laporta complaining about the timing of this announcement, and I have to agree because Crow Spain notified La Liga that they were not going to be accepting 100 million euros from the VIP deal back on March 27th. That's a week ago. And yet La Liga announces it on the same day as the semifinal. Also, you know what happened on the same day as the semifinal? Ancelotti was present in court. for criminal charges against him for tax evasion. So Laporta suggesting that La Liga have announced that to kind of first, well, Laporta didn't say this, but part of it, I think La Liga did it to distract away from what's going on with Ancelotti. And what Laporta is suggesting is also that La Liga is doing this because this is an important day for Barcelona, having played the semifinal, which of course we did win. Now, I do have to say, I agree with Laporta. The timing seems a little bit off since it's a week later than when the whole thing was known. Also, why announce it now? Barcelona have until June 30th to figure out the whole situation with their money, because that's when the new salary limits are announced, right? There's no summer transfer market in April or spring transfer market. There's no spring transfer market in May. So who cares, right? Whether Barcelona are under the 1-1 rule or not. They're not going to sign any players until the summer transfer market. And by then, the new salary limits will be announced. So I don't think it's a coincidence. But here's the thing. And I want you to really pay attention to this, because all the Barcelona news media outlets and all the Barcelona YouTubers in Spain are running with this story. Hey, La Liga making this announcement. It's not timely. It's no coincidence, blah, blah, blah. However, I want to remind you, or I want to stress, that this should not be the headline. The headline should not be La Liga's timing, because I don't care about La Liga's timing. The headline is that Barcelona have a big problem. And the problem is called Joan Laporta, because Joan Laporta continues to rule this club off the cuff with no plan in sight, improvising left and right. And as a result, we keep getting into these messes. La Liga did not create this mess. This VIP deal was not signed by La Liga. Laporta did. And this is a big problem. And do not let Laporta or the other Barcelona news media outlets distract you away from the actual problem. It's not La Liga's announcement. It's how Laporta is managing this club. Because it's been a blunder after blunder after blunder. In the summer, La Liga informed Joan Laporta that he was not going to be able to register Dani Olmo. And yet, Laporta decided to sign him anyway. Then, despite signing him, Laporta did not come up with any plans to register him. The only way Olmo was registered is because Barcelona got lucky and Christensen got injured. And then Barcelona still had 4 months to come up with a plan to register Dani Olmo. They did it. Instead, Laporta waited 3 days before the deadline, flew to the Middle East, and signed this VIP deal, which didn't work out because Dani Olmo was still deregistered and we still had to go to court. Now, the court just announced a few moments ago that Dani Olmo and Pau Victor will remain registered. So we have won this case, but that's not the point. We should not get to the point where we have to go to court to register our players just because Laporta has no plans in sight and just because Laporta continues to rule this club off the cuff, improvising, no plan in sight, blunder after blunder after blunder. And at this point, I can no longer defend Joan Laporta. When Laporta was elected, or when he was running his campaign, I wanted him to win. When he was elected, I celebrated his win. For the first 3 years, I defended him. I supported him. But I can no longer do that because even though Laporta was doing a great job at the beginning, he's no longer doing that. And a lot has to do with his board. When Joan Laporta was first elected, he chose a board full of competent people. People who are highly educated, people with lots of experience, people who knew what they were doing. And as a result, the club was functioning well. The club was getting out of the hole that they were in. But with time, executives started dropping like flies. They started quitting. They started abandoning ship. So far, 25 executives have resigned. Now, don't get me wrong. Resignations exist everywhere. They exist in all companies, on all boards. But 25 in 3 years, that's an alarming high number. And that tells you two things. A, there's a big problem because Laporta has not replaced many of these executives. So if no one's there to run the club, who's running it? And two, it signals that there's a deep problem within the club. And that's why the executives are leaving, because they don't want anything to do with how Laporta is managing the club. Now, that initially was just a hunch. But now that hunch has become a reality. Because when Eduard Romeu The vice president of finance, one of the most important positions in Barcelona, quit. He said he was doing it because of personal reasons. But many people who are close to him, who know him, stated to the media that it was a big disagreement between him and Laporta on how the club was being ran, more specifically because Laporta had failed to replace many of the positions that were empty, and instead he surrounded himself with his friends. For example, Jean-Olivier, his former brother-in-law and a close friend of him. What the hell is he doing at the club? He has no official position. No one knows what he does, but yet he's making all the big calls. Then, Julie Gu, the vice president of marketing, the guy who brought us more than 30 sponsorships, he resigned too. Why? Because he too had a disagreement with Jean Laporta on how Laporta was running the club. More importantly, he had a big disagreement on the Nike deal. So again, we have a deep, deep problem here where these executives are dropping like flies because they don't agree with how Laporta is running the club, not to mention that they're not being replaced, and instead Laporta surrounding himself with close friends and running the club like it's his personal business, which is not. Now, this is a problem. This is a problem because we've seen way too many blunders now. First, the stadium. We were supposed to be celebrating 125th anniversary in the stadium in November. That's what Laporta told us. Now, it looks like we're not going to go back until October, maybe January of next year. Then there was the clause that was supposedly going to make us €1 million a day for every day the stadium was delayed. What the hell happened to that clause? Then there's the Nike deal. Laporta told us that it's the best deal in history, but yet he refuses to release the numbers of the contract. Also, why did Julie Gu quit? If it's such a great deal, why would one of your main executives quit over it? And if it's such a great deal, tell us the numbers. Let's celebrate your win together. Which means something's there is off. Then there's Barca Vision. Laporta told us that Barca Vision was this company worth 400 million euros. We were going to sell half of it to develop it, and Barca Vision was going to make all these products, and it's going to make the club so much money. Till this day, Barca Vision hasn't generated nothing. It's generated zero. And now that tells me that the reason why Libero did not pay their share is because they probably figured out that Barca Vision is a scam, that there's nothing there, and that's why they decided to back out. And now the VIP deal. So blunder after blunder after blunder. Laporta is no longer running the club in a competent way like he was during his first 2 years. He's no longer surrounded by competent people. Instead, most of them have left, and he has replaced them with his close friends, and he is running the club like his personal business where there's no plan, there's no strategy. Instead, he continues to improvise time and time again, and that's causing big problems for the club. So don't get distracted by his statements. Don't get distracted by the Barca media telling you, oh, La Liga, their timing, it's no coincidence. Who cares? La Liga didn't create this problem. Laporta did. La Liga didn't wait until 3 days before the deadline to go sign a deal, which, by the way, till this day, we don't know who the second investor is because Jean Laporta refuses to tell us who the second investor is. Why? Why the secrecy? That's the problem here. Not La Liga's timing. It's how Jean Laporta is running the club, and I can no longer defend them because there's a big, big problem. There's a lack of transparency. There's a lack of planning, and there's instead improvising and surrounding himself with his personal friends, and instead relying on his charisma and his tactics to distract us, just like how he distracted us when he was coming out of that trial where he testified. As you know, I made a video about this, Laporta Gate, where he's being accused of using the club's money to pay off investors that he defrauded in a personal matter. Of course, all those are allegations, but that day he was coming out of court after testifying, and what did he talk about? He talked about Jules Koundé's penalty that the referee missed against Getafe, and that's what the press talked about for the next 2-3 days. And here he's trying to do exactly the same thing. Instead of talking about the VIP deal and what went wrong and how we can fix it, he's talking about La Liga's timing. Anyways, let me know you guys' thoughts in the comment section. I will be going live in a few more minutes because there's more news to cover. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always,